Our beginnings do not have to dictate who we will become. This statement means many things to many different people. For me, once, a young girl who grew up in Gulfport, Mississippi with her 5 siblings, to me it means that I am living proof that the beginning is not the end, and it is nowhere near it. The population in Gulfport, Mississippi, at the time that I was growing up there, was just under 40,000 people. So I found it very easy to get comfortable to that way of life, living in that small town with a steady routine. My siblings and I had only 3 responsibilities, and they were to go to school, go to church, and take care of one another. Despite my family struggling to make ends meet, my mother and father raised us to live by the virtue that genuine service and acts of kindness to our community was essential. If someone was struggling, I was raised to not only take action on that person's behalf, but to work diligently in order to find a solution so incredibly accommodating that the issue was thoroughly eradicated and would never rear its ugly head twice to the same person or the community as a whole. This type of ethic, combined with the unwavering commitment from my support system to provide an exceptional educational opportunity for me, is what brought me to the great state of Georgia. From there, I went on to attend and receive my bachelor's degrees from Spelman College, the LBJ School of Public Affairs in Texas, and Yale Law School. These academic institutions taught me how to become a successful politician by having empathy and through storytelling. Storytelling is absolutely a necessary part of how you do politics, because people need to understand that you get their story and that you can explain complicated ideas to them in ways that resonate with them, especially if it's not originally their own story. The stories told in American culture are usually centered around a hero or someone for the people to look up to and follow as an example. The leader that this country is looking for must have these 3 basic qualities in order to be successful. The first quality is being selfless. The second quality is being courageous enough to act on decisions even when you do not have the majority of people on your side. And the third quality is being willing to accept defeat after you have exhausted all of your outlets. As I appear before you today, I am dedicated now more than ever to taking the responsibility to be that leader and to make that difference in our communities all over America, not just Georgia, to refine those skills, values, aspirations, and motivations that we had back in 2008 when President Barack Obama was elected as our 44th President of the United States of America. These basic qualities are built on the fundamental backbones of those who built this country. As a leader, I should be stoic in my outrage and silent in my rebuke. But stoicism is a luxury, and silence are a weapon for those who will quiet the voices of the people. And I will not concede because the erosion of our democracy is not right. As the saying goes, it's time to get our hands dirty and reinvent what it means to be an American. It is my civic duty to give the microphone to those who built this platform. I intend not only to give the people who built America the opportunity to speak, but the opportunity and the resources to keep the ball in their court. These resources have been scarcely sanctioned to specific communities since the start of our westernized civilization, and they will be dispersed accordingly in reparations. I plan to achieve this by starting small. Therefore, I found the New Georgia Project, which resulted in more than 200,000 registrations from voters of color between 2014 and 2016. I also proposed the deal to reform the Hope Scholarship Program, which would instead make use of the state's lottery funding, which would typically go to all one source of whoever won that jackpot, and most likely would not be used to its highest potential. I used this funding to pay tuition for needy students. These achievements can become a reality nationwide for every state if every currently elected Republican in the House of Representatives made selfless decisions in the best interest of the people. I am the first African American female to lead any party in the Georgia Central Assembly and in the House of Representatives. Being the only double minority leader in the House of Representatives, I have learned that being unapologetically liberal, as I would describe myself, is absolutely imperative to this country's success, so that any of our elected leaders will be trained to support Democrats and their proposed ideas in order to prevent the possibilities of a Republican supermajority in the House of Representatives, so that the numbers will be level, the numbers will be equal, and we will be able to be heard. The Republicans want the poor to pay taxes and then some, making it even more difficult for those who are currently struggling to put food on the table for their families, for their children, and be able to stay afloat. It is our calling and our civic duty collectively as a whole, as the ones elected to lead this country, to safeguard our future and our potential. And what places have more potential to be successful than the ones that are currently struggling to survive? I believe that by stopping legislation to raise taxes on the poor and middle class can reinforce positive banter and potential solutions on more relevant issues such as poverty, food and water security, reproductive health care, and overall just provide a general feeling of safety and promote a good well-being to all Americans. Not just ones who can fall under a certain tax bracket. I have created compromises that led to progress on transportation, infrastructure, and education. This was achieved simply through passing legislation to improve the welfare of grandparents and other guardians that are raising children that may not be their own under any circumstances, which occurs typically more frequently in Black households nationwide than any other households in any other race that is recorded. Secured increased funding to support these families should not be considered unattainable or a leftist idea. Having access to adequate health care is not a leftist idea. It's a human idea. Making enough money to take care of your family is not a leftist idea. It is a human idea, and we are all human. These are progressive ideas, and we have to stop buying into this notion that because it is different from what is going on now, that it is somehow normatively outside of the box. Even in defeat, when I lost my race for governor of Georgia in 2018 to Republican Brian Kemp, That loss fueled a fire that illuminated the urgency for me to go back to the drawing board and begin a voting rights group to challenge Republican policies. And to do this, I joined somewhat of a liberal think tank and developed an organization called Fair Fight Action. After commencing a statewide thank you tour, Fair Fight Action was created in response to the mismanagement of the 2018 elections that took place in Georgia. They were rifled with irregularities that I seem to believe were ignored. That is why I am making it my mission to advocate for free and fair elections. The simplest way to prevent someone from having a voice is to deny them access to the polls. Fair Fight Action works to ensure that all voters have access to the polls. It promotes fair elections in Georgia, it promotes voter participation in elections, and it provides voter education. Fair Fight Action also brings awareness to the public on election reform, lobbies the state legislature for election reform, and engages in targeted voter registration and other voter outreach programs and communications. The voices of the major pillars in our communities have been silenced throughout history due to laws and standards that were considered lawful in the past, and we have never truly recovered from the damage that was caused. Despite fear, fatigue, failure, doubt, and all other grim emotions that I have faced throughout the years, fighting for my voice to be heard on this elevated platform that my community has worked so hard to build for me, I have, and I always will have, a boundless, limitless belief in all America's capacity to prosper, along with the courage, commitment to service, and experience to make our shared vision a reality. Thank you.